I used to find when I started the breathing, not pranayama, but the breathing that leads to pranayama, I found that I couldn't breathe into the upper parts of my lungs. And then I thought, what is this about? And one day it came that I didn't feel worthy to take it all in, to have it all, to have the fullness of life. So then by learning to do that with the breath, I started to feel worthy of experiencing the fullness of life. So when you were saying that, I thought, maybe you guys were nuns in another life. You know, we take vows of poverty, many things. But it's something to look at when you're doing this, because that will cause us to pull in, because of the fear also, not just trespassing into other people's space, but the fear of being out there in space and being too big. There's a lot of fear that goes along with that. And one time I felt when I was in Russia and I had to take on certain things, my auric field had to get so big, to deal with the things I had to deal with, including the KGB. I had to be huge, like Mother Kali. And one time I got on the airplane to go home, and my auric field was so big I didn't know if I could get in the door. And I didn't know if I could just squeeze myself into the seat. And I felt like I was huge, gargantuan, and nobody should tangle with me. It was that feeling of, and then I was quickly trying to gather it in to get back to where I was, which was like this, And so we do have those experiences. But now I can laugh. I think I should have enjoyed it. I felt I was bigger than the plane, that I could hold the plane, that I could fly, And then you say, oh my gosh, is this my ego or is it really an experience? Yes.
When I was a child, I used to get sick a lot, and I would get fevers, and I remember laying in my room, and one of the things that accompanied the fever was this feeling of being inside my body, but I was like Alice in Wonderland and the who'd taken whatever, and she was in the house, and the head was in the wall and all of that, and it used to terrify me.
Yeah.
And then the first meditation experience I got that. And I was afraid again, and I thought, oh my gosh, am I feverish, what's going on? But now I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I switched my perception about it. Yeah,
it's being accustomed to a new sensation.
It's like finally I'm outside of the blocks.
Yeah.
I'm outside of myself, and okay, now I can do I don't have to worry about this.
Well, look at that with Alice in Wonderland. From the minimal to the maximal, and we have the microcosm to the macrocosm. If we're so used to the microcosm and all of a sudden we have this experience of the macro, it's an adjustment. It doesn't mean we shouldn't do it and go back to our old, I don't deserve this. This is in the 3rd chapter of the sutras when they talk about, in Vibhuti-pada, negating Bhuta, meaning the earth, where we're negating the 3rd dimensional plane, and we're going, these are the powers that the yogis have. And one is the maximus, the macrocosm, and the other is to become the infinitesimal microcosm. And some of the great yogis, in India, they're able to do that, move between the two. And even Yogananda would talk about this, and one time one of the gurus had put on 50 pounds in one day, and then they can take the weight off, just through certain practices and thinking and doing this. So when you experience this, observe it, but don't try to change it. Don't try to pull it in. Because I remember the whole plane ride back to the United States, I couldn't get my aura in. And then I was so afraid, I'd walk into, that I couldn't even get into my house, And then one day I was working with the NPR people who were part of our dialogues and conflict resolution between the warring factions of Armenia and Azerbaijan. And I had 10 NPR journalists, and one of them was at the end of the room, and I was walking towards her, and she was walking towards me, and suddenly she fell over. And she said, "Your aura knocked me over." So then I'm pulling it in again. You know, I didn't want to be obtrusive. So just be aware. There's sometimes will be more expanded, sometimes will be more internalized. So is that all right? Yes, Barbara.
You know what I noticed when I was paying attention to my feet is when I raise my toes up, the energy goes out of the top of my head, and when I drop my toes down, it
Yeah.
stops here.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never noticed that before.
But I'll tell you, when you stand in that stance and you go down, now I can grow, we can grow. It's so powerful. And we go into that warrior stance of our being. And then we don't have to fight any battles. They won't even come near us. It's so powerful. Yeah. So, yes, Christine, say it.
It just feels like it can open significantly more, that it can, like an aperture of a camera lens, it can keep going and going and going, and it's just,
Yeah, it can take you into
strange.
infinity.
Yeah, it feels like it's, okay, you can go a little bit more, but it does, at
Yeah.
least I can feel that it's a choice now, as opposed to it's a lock now.
Yeah. It's a choice. It's a choice. And watch your fears when they come up. Watch your fears when you have different experiences. And then just don't remain unmoving. As I said, until the right action occurs. Just remain unmoving and just observe the experience. Let it unfold. Don't try to make it happen. Don't try to pull it away. The moment our mind gets involved, we lose the experience.